Hi, and welcome to the SEO podcast, Unknown Secrets of Internet Marketing. My name is Chris Burris, owner of eWebstyle.
Charles Lewis, your internet marketing specialist.
Welcome back to another fun-filled edition of the SEO podcast. This is podcast number 207, that number right up there behind us. Just so you know, we are broadcasting on Thursday at about noon.
Noon 30.
Since we were a day off, we weren't too concerned about actually broadcasting on time. So you know, we are now broadcasting the video of our podcast live Fridays at noon Central Standard Time. So check us out, join us, put it in your schedule. Should be roughly around lunchtime for, I don't know, 2/3 of the country, we'll say. And so hopefully you guys can check us out. As always, you're probably listening on a podcast anyway, so you can grab and listen to us on a podcast from whatever device you have. Speaking of devices, if you do have a device, what we'd like you to do is to tweet now, and what you should tweet is, take it away.
Hashtag SEO podcast, that right there, number 207. Be sure to tag us in it at eWebstyle. That way we can link up and follow you back and do all of our social stuff.
All right, as always, we have a tip from our previous podcast. It is make sure to train anyone who will be representing your company in social media, or use a social media company.
Yeah. Definitely. You want to make sure that whoever you have managing your social profiles, your Facebook, your Twitter, your LinkedIn, your YouTube, that they, one, actually know what they're doing. And number two, that they're familiar enough with your company so that they can represent you correctly on these profiles. What you don't want to happen is some agency or some intern or whatnot all over Twitter and Facebook posting things about your company that may not be accurate or correct. And so definitely train whoever you're using for your social media.
Yeah, you definitely, as an example, our blank stare or what at the end of this podcast will give you a good example of why you need to have some good training related to your social media campaigns.
Definitely.
All right, so that is our tip. Let's see, what do we have next? There are 3 ways you guys can help us out. We do this podcast. This podcast is free. One of the ways is to write a review on iTunes, which takes only a few minutes. It's only 3 steps. You go onto iTunes, you create an account, and you write a review. We actually have a solution today. We'll be reading that, so you don't necessarily have to send me an email if you're in another country. That's optional now, and I suggest you go ahead and do it anyway. Let's just make that happen. I'll put that out there.
Podcast at e-webstyle.com.
And let us know. We'll give you a patoof. That is a punch in the face. And it's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
That is a good thing. All right, so the next thing you could do for us is go to our G Plus local page and write a review there. There are at least 4 ways to get there, 5 ways. The one way that we don't recommend is to figure out what our long URL number / ridiculous thing from G Plus. What we do recommend you do is go to e-webstyle.com /
G plus
or /
G plus
or /
Google plus
or /
Google plus.
Any one of those will take you to our G Plus local page. There you can write us a review. I do have a review. And finally, we have a review tab on Facebook, which I didn't check before this podcast, so maybe there's already a review there. Our Facebook page is facebook.com /
eWebstyle.
Or you can follow us, twitter.com /
eWebstyle.
videos at youtube.com /
eWebstyle.
And as always, you can send us an email, podcast at
e-webstyle.com.
I'm going to jump right to that review that we've got on iTunes. We've got that's a question. That's that. All right, so I'm going to, speaking of iTunes, we were just talking about that and the fact that you initially needed to send us an email. Steve Stewart sent us an email. He actually did a video. I need to post that
on Twitter too.
Yeah, hit us on Twitter, posted a video on how to do what he's describing. So here it goes. Hi guys, love the podcast. I have a solution to your problem of seeing iTunes reviews from other countries. We may have already seen a tweet, by the way. I responded via tweet before he sent this email to me, so I had actually seen it. If not, check this video out. So he sends us a video. And if you just go to his website, yes, you can podcast too. That's TOO.com. The first post there, or look for a post, see iTunes reviews multiple countries, and you'll see a video where he does mention us. He's attached a CSV report of all of our reviews, and what this does is there's actually a tool out there, costs $5, and enables you to see all the reviews from all the countries for your podcast. So that's pretty cool. He also says, I know when you go to my site, you won't be able to help yourself, but look at the things that I'm doing wrong. Please be kind. This is still a new site, and I haven't been able to dedicate much time. By the way, it's an information site, so kind of in general, you give a pass to a lot of information sites. They're out there doing a good thing, and I gave them, I couldn't help it. I could not help it. Here we have a review on, this is a question, so let's do the review first. We got a review on iTunes. The review says, good content, but too much fluff and self-promotion. And it is only 3 stars.
What was that? Too much fluff and self-promotion?
Yeah. Okay. And it says, well, the title pretty much says it all. I'm assuming he's talking about the title of his review. You should actually measure the amount of airtime that contains meaty content compared to total airtime. Listen to tons of podcasts, and your meat to fluff ratio is way skewed towards fluff compared to all others. Really? By fluff, I mean spending too much time reviewing reviews and asking for more. Huh? Okay, if you don't get that, like, we want reviews. Is there a problem with that? And talking about news that is often of minimal relevance. Are you a Samsung? Here's a question: are you on the Samsung payroll? If so, please disclose that they are a sponsor. Yeah, we're on the Samsung payroll because I've got this Lenovo device, and that's made by Samsung, and I've been using an iPad actually until recently, so that's also made by Samsung. And your iPhone your phone.
Well, my phone is Samsung.
Oh, it's also Samsung.
Yeah, it's a Nexus. It's made by Samsung.
So really, we just like them. They make good stuff, and we have them. And so we talk about them.
We was using HTCs because they made good Evos at the time.
Yep.
And so,
absolutely. So
Samsung could cut a check. I wouldn't be mad, but we're not sponsors.
And we would actually disclose that because we are reputable. The implication is that we're getting paid and promoting something and not actually disclosing it, which almost offensive. So So Remy Tennant, there's your podcast punch in the face for giving us some
appreciate
feedback.
the review. Apparently it works a little bit. You did leave us a review, so
and it was 3 stars. So. You like the content? I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into our question. This question was sent to us by Brian with podcastdojo.com. It says, what is schema.org? Should I be using it? If so, how should podcasters be using it?
So Brian, great question. Schema.org used to be one of those things I considered advanced SEO, but more and more it's becoming kind of standard practice these days. Schema is basically an HTML markup that you can use to mark up your content in a certain way that search engines will recognize exactly what this content is and what it's for. And that whole process is called microdata. And so what happens is there's a certain set of HTML tags that you can use to mark up your HTML content a certain way. Now, how do you implement it? That's the tricky part. If you're going to code it from scratch, great for you. It's not that difficult. Matter of fact, schema.org provides tons of docs and resources to assist with that. However, if you're using WordPress and you're using the Yoast plugin, Yoast will make it extremely easy to add a schema markup to certain pages.
That wasn't too loud.
Things you want to keep in mind are what you want to mark up. Like what I've noticed, schema works great with like e-commerce sites, where you're marking up different products or things like that, or they work great for local industries if you want to mark up your address and your NAP information, name, address, and phone, and all of that sort of stuff. Then that just helps the search engines find it and display it better. So schema.org, should you be using it? Yes, you should. All right, Brian, appreciate your question.
And for podcasters specifically, as long as if you're a podcaster, then you've got an RSS feed that iTunes is currently able to read. So in relations to changing that schema up at all, I don't think you need to do anything. Just make sure that your podcast feed is getting interpreted properly by iTunes, and you'll be in good shape. Schema would apply more towards what you're doing on your website,
than not necessarily on your podcast
specific. So, all right, cool. Let's get on to. We got a little bit of news. I thought this was cool. The new iPhone 5C, right? Yeah. So you got lots of color. Now, there's a lot of people raving about this fingerprint thing and saying that it's it's revolutionary and that it's going to change security. And all I know, I've had a laptop for 5 years, probably 4 years at least, and it's got one of those little sliders that you put your fingerprint on, and it takes forever. Like, it takes forever. So I don't know how quick the iPhone. It just needs to be fast. And when they're talking about, I mean, somebody was talking about, oh, it's going to replace, you know, slide swipes and pin codes. I'm like, you know, for me to enter 4 digits, it's pretty fast.
Yeah, or even for me to swipe, my swipe, you know, is
yours is pretty complex too, right? You like zip back and forth and forward, and so I don't have it memorized. Just know you're like. So I just have a hard time seeing that. It really almost needs to be instantaneous, and that's, you know, it's pretty complex stuff going on there.
I'm waiting on grip notification.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
heartbeat
yeah,
or
that's
presence.
I can tell by how his hand feels.
Yep. That would be cool. Did you see the frog photobomb of the rocket launch?
No, I didn't.
So there's a rocket launch, and usually under rocket launches there's a pond of water underneath, and apparently there was a frog in the pond, and so one of the still photos that were taken of the rocket taking off has this frog. He's like Superman frog in it. So frog photobombed the rocket launch. I think that's pretty cool.
That's what's up.
This is just interesting. The Moto X is actually built here in Texas, Fort Worth. So we're a little Texas proud here. So go Moto.
Yeah.
I might
Sounds
have to
like a yeehaw is appropriate. Right around
exactly. It should be the Moto Y for yeehaw. And Google Plus adds live question and answer features to Hangouts. So now you can do a Hangout and actually have live question and answer. So that's kind of cool. We may visit that at some point.
Well, what that does is that Google Hangout is literally in my opinion, taking aim at sites like GoToMeeting and things like that, where those features are available, paid available, right? Google is giving all this stuff away free,
right?
And so, yeah, like, I mean, I love it.
Yeah,
like I got to hang out tomorrow with one of our clients, and
in the UK, all the way from the UK. All right, so that is the potatoes of our podcast. Time to get into the meat, unless we've got any more patiffs or anything.
No more questions. So we'll get into our content. I was on Search Engine Journal, and Rocco Baldassar posted an article called "The 10 Do's and 10 Don'ts in Google AdWords," and I thought this was pretty cool because I've been spending more and more time in AdWords. That's one of my primary job functions here, and so why not share it with you? It was interesting though because most of these we already have in place, and so it just kind of works well. Number one, do utilize the keyword planner. Now, let me go my soapbox for a minute and say I really don't like the keyword planner. I was a fan of the older AdWords keyword tool. Now, I will say the keyword planner does have some pretty neat features,
right?
Like the way it can help you determine ad groups and do a different level of keyword research. But they did not simplify it. They made it a lot more difficult to do. And the old keywords selection tool was just really easy to use and very simple. So if you could take the keyword planner and somehow simplify it and give me the same features, then I don't know if that's asking a lot, but yeah,
it's just asking for what you want.
Yeah, but definitely use it because there's information in that keyword planner more than just how many search queries or how much this cost per click is, but it can really help you mine ad groups and theme your ad groups, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Number two, do test and measure. Testing and measuring is extremely important when doing pay-per-click management. In order for you to accurately know if these ads are working or not, if these keywords are working or not, if this landing page is working or not, you have to test, and then you have to measure, and then you have to test again. So constantly test out ads, test out keywords, test out match types, and then measure your results so you can engage accordingly. Number three, do attract guests back to your website by using retargeting. This is key. This is kind of a default practice for ours. All PPC clients will eventually roll into remarketing just because it has that much value. For one, usually the clicks that come from a remarketing ad are more targeted because this client has been to your site before, and B, they usually cost a little bit less. And so, I mean, and we have actual evidence that some clicks that cost $8 in the Google search network, that same, I won't say the same click because it's a different click, but the remarketing click was like 75 cents in comparison to the $8. and for a click from somebody who's already visited the site. So they're a little bit more qualified. They're
Yeah.
already familiar with you, and frankly they know exactly what they're looking for. And so definitely set up remarketing. It works wonders. Um,
Yeah.
Number 4, do utilize A and B testing. So kind of back to the test and measure deal. A and B testing basically means test out 2 different things at the same time and see which one works better. One of the things we tend to do is when we create ads, we'll do some regular text ads, and then I'll do text ads that include like dynamic keyword insertion, and let them run together. And then over the course of 30 days, maybe 40 days, see which ad brought the most traffic, which ad generated the most conversions, and then remix and reapply and do it all over again. So definitely take advantage of A and B testing, and not just ads. You can test different landing pages. You can test different CTAs. You can test all sorts of different things in regards to your ad. You may want to test a local phone number in comparison to a national number, just to see what kind of results you get. Number 5, do take the time to own your ads that will cater to the needs of your target prospect. What does that mean? That means don't just put out a generic ad, right? So if you sell, if you only sell patent leather black shoes, make sure your ad sells patent leather black shoes.
Yeah.
Don't put out an ad about
Shoes.
Yeah. Or even black shoes.
Yeah.
Make sure your ad targets specifically who your target is, because you're looking for people looking for patent leather black shoes because that's what you sell.
So if somebody is looking for black tennis shoes, right, and they see black shoes, they could click you, and that would be just a waste of money.
Because you don't have black tennis shoes.
Right.
Unless
Now, I'm not saying they wouldn't click even if you put patent. You're just going to reduce the number of people who click. So
Exactly. Number 6. Do perform enough keyword research prior to deciding which keywords to use. This can be taken with a grain of salt, especially from a paid search perspective. Because if you're managing that campaign properly, you should be adding keywords all of the time anyway, adding negatives all the time anyway. I don't want to encourage you to do hours and hours and hours and tons of keyword research up front. Allow the data to dictate which keywords you need. I will say, get you a solid set though. Research your main key phrases, the ones that you would think people would search. See what your competitors are doing, what terms they're showing under. Start there.
Put in some good negative terms.
Yeah, definitely. And then start there. And then as you maintain and as you prune your campaign, you will come across other keywords that'll be more effective that you can eventually add to your campaign.
So something I hear you saying is don't start with exact match and stay with exact match. Do some other options so that you start getting some feedback, and you may end up paying for some keywords that you don't want because you neglected a negative that didn't even dawn on you. But you may also gain a number of
keywords that you didn't think about. That can work. We're actually doing that right now for Lenny, and so it can work. It can work. You just have to be careful with how you choose matches, and also, more importantly, keep your budget in mind. If you're working with a real small budget, then this sort of A and B testing kind of keyword research deal may not be the most strategic route to go because you're budget conscious. But if you can afford to, let's say, sacrifice a few clicks for the sake of honing down keywords, then it may be worth it.
Yeah.
It's kind of you got to see what your budget is. Number 7
goes back to have a plan.
Have a plan, exactly. Number 7, do have tightly themed ad groups. So back to our shoe example. Let's say you sell black patent leather shoes and you have black tennis shoes. Don't put them in one group called black shoes. You should have an ad group for black patent leather shoes. And in that ad group, you'll have black patent leather shoes that are black, shoes that are black and patent leather. You have all kind of keywords in there, all related to that group. And then the same thing with tennis shoes. But what you don't want to do is put them all into one ad group and call it black shoes or shoes or something like that. Hurt your quality score. And from a management perspective, it's just harder to manage that.
To prune, you use the analogy of the tree. It's harder to prune the tree when the tree is actually 2 trees.
Exactly. Exactly. It's easier when they're in themed ad groups where you can come in and maybe you want to increase the budget on patent leather and and decrease it on tennis shoes or something like that. But when you have more themed ad groups and themed campaigns for that matter, then it's easier to manage that account. Um, Number 8, do utilize conversion tracking. This is key. I mean, people, you're paying for ads and you're paying for marketing, you're paying for promotion, and the best way to find out if those ads are really working is if you're tracking the conversions. Whether that conversion is a quote form being filled out, or maybe a newsletter registration,
Right.
or a product download, whatever your conversion is, track it.
Yeah.
Google makes it, AdWords makes it extremely easy to track, and frankly, even easier now to sync with analytics, so you can track it all in one place.
Yeah.
That way you can track what's converting paid and what's converting organically, for example.
Because remember, if you don't set that up, your conversions are literally clicks to your website. You don't know what's happening after they get there. So you may get tons of traffic from patent leather shoes and tons of traffic from tennis shoes, and people only buy patent leather shoes. And if you don't have a goal set for those two campaigns, you're not going to realize you're throwing money away on tennis shoes, and you should be taking all that budget and putting it on patent leather shoes.
Yeah, so definitely set up conversion tracking. And you can set up different types of conversions, right? So don't just put them all under one, right? Set up one for your quote form, set up another for your contact form. If you sell products, set up another one for your checkout page. And so that way you can gauge what your traffic is doing. You can even take it a step further and create a funnel.
That funnel is really important, because you can see, okay, 10% drop off when they have to enter their credit card or whatever. And if you get to a point where 100% drop off, the page may be broken.